The small studio felt calm, like a library right before it opens. The lights were soft, the chairs were simple, and 2 mugs of tea sat on a low table. A few people from the crew moved quietly, testing the cameras and the microphones, but no one spoke louder than a whisper. It was the kind of room where attention comes naturally. Trevor Noah glanced at his notes, then closed his notebook and smiled to himself. He liked to prepare, but he liked listening even more. He wanted this conversation to feel honest, not heavy. He wanted the guest to feel safe enough to speak in his own way, with his own pace. Keanu Reeves arrived a few minutes early. He walked in with a gentle hello to the room, and the sound guy lifted a hand back. Keanu wore a plain jacket and well-used shoes. Nothing about him asked for attention. He seemed like someone who had already made peace with the noise outside and had decided to stay quiet anyway. He shook Trevor's hand with both hands, as if he was saying thank you before the interview even began. Trevor noticed small things, how Keanu made eye contact, how he waited for other people to pass, how he let a pause be a pause. There was no rush around him, and the room took after his pace. They sat without the cameras rolling for a moment. Trevor asked if the tea was okay. Keanu said it was warm and that warm was good. Trevor laughed because it was such a simple answer, but it told him something. The best conversations, he believed, start with easy truths. A producer asked if they could attach the microphones. Keanu nodded and lifted his jacket. As the mic was clipped in place, he joked about always forgetting he was wearing one. The sound tech smiled. The kind of smile that says, "I feel seen." Trevor had interviewed many famous people. He knew how some guests like to lead with the big story, the breaking item, the "you won't believe this" moment. Others liked to be guarded, keeping every word behind a fence. Keanu was neither. He seemed like a person who understood that stories matter, but people matter more. Trevor asked if there was anything off limits. Keanu said he did not want to talk about things that belonged to other people. He did not want to share someone else's private moments. Trevor said that made perfect sense. He promised to be careful with the questions. They were on the same page without needing to spell out every line. The cameras turned on, the red lights glowed, and the producer counted down with her fingers. Trevor introduced the show and his guest, and then he put his notes aside. He wanted the space to be guided by curiosity. "You have a reputation," Trevor began, "for being kind in a world that often rewards the opposite." He did not say kindness is rare or kindness is weak. He just said kind. He asked the question in a voice that did not try to impress. Keanu listened closely, hands resting on his knees, and he took a breath like a swimmer pausing at the edge of the pool. Keanu started by describing the word reputation as something that does not belong to you. "It is like a coat other people wrap around your shoulders," he said. "Sometimes it fits. Sometimes it does not." He smiled, almost shyly, and added that he tries to be good company. To him, that means being present, not performing. Trevor nodded. He liked the phrase "good company." It was simple and human. He asked what that looks like on a set, or in a line at a coffee shop, or when someone recognizes you on the street. Keanu answered in images rather than declarations. He said it looks like knowing someone's name, saying thank you, waiting your turn, and not assuming your time matters more than someone else's time. Trevor leaned forward. He asked when that became important to Keanu. Was it a lesson from childhood? A habit from work? A choice after something changed? Keanu tilted his head, thinking. The room felt even quieter. He said there were teachers along the way, some of them not called teachers. A stunt coordinator who checked on every person before the first rehearsal. A camera operator who carried heavy gear and never complained, but accepted help with a grateful nod. A neighbor who returned a lost letter and said, "This didn't belong to me, so I made sure it found its way home." Keanu said small acts build a person like bricks, and one day you realize you are living in the house they made. Trevor listened the way he always does when he senses the heart of a story. He asked about attention, how it follows fame, how it can flatten a person into an idea. Keanu considered this, and his answer surprised Trevor. He said attention is like weather, some days it is gentle, some days it is loud, but it is not the same thing as climate. Climate is who you are when no one is looking. Attention can help you see yourself, but it can also confuse you. He said he tries to check the climate, not the weather. Trevor laughed softly, repeating the metaphor. Check the climate, he said, tapping his chest as if to make a note on an invisible page. The conversation moved like a slow river. No sharp turns, just clean water. Trevor asked how Keanu prepares for an interview like this. Keanu said he tries to arrive early and leave a little space before and after. He tries to say thank you to the crew because the crew makes the world feel steady. He tries to remember that a question is a gift. Even if he does not have a perfect answer, the question means someone believes there is a real person there to ask. Trevor let that idea sit. He looked at the camera and then back at Keanu, and he said that, in his experience, many people come to the table wanting a headline. This time, he wanted a human line. Keanu raised his eyebrows with quiet joy and said, "All right, let's look for one." Trevor asked about quiet. How do you keep it? How do you protect it in a life full of noise? Keanu smiled a little and spoke about bikes, books, and long walks that do not need a destination. He described the comfort of a routine, even a simple one: make the bed, wash the cup, water the plant, feed the dog. These are tiny rituals that tell the day, we are here, and we can begin. Trevor said that sounded like a kind of faith. Not a speech about faith, but the practice of it, minute by minute. Keanu said he liked that phrase, the practice of it, and that it helps to be a beginner every morning. At one point, Trevor mentioned the internet's love for stories about Keanu doing nice things. He did not recite them, he just said they exist. Keanu looked a little embarrassed and thanked the people who tell such stories, but he added something gentle: kindness is not news. It is supposed to be normal. He said it with no judgment, only hope. Trevor held that line up to the light, repeating, "It is supposed to be normal." He wondered aloud if the world is hungry for normal in a new way. Maybe that is why simple goodness feels like a surprise now, even a shock. While they spoke, the crew settled into the rhythm. The camera operators tracked small expressions. The assistant checked battery life and then stopped checking, because everything felt steady. The producer stayed close but not too close, and she wrote a few words on a sticky note, then set the note aside because the conversation did not need steering. It was not that dramatic things were happening. It was that real things were happening, and real has a quiet sound. When Trevor made a joke, Keanu laughed in a way that reached his eyes. When Keanu paused, Trevor did not rush to fill the space. He waited. He trusted the silence to carry them both. Trevor asked one more question before the first break. He kept his voice soft. He said, "A lot of people watching you today are dealing with stress, pressure, and the feeling that they have to be loud to be heard. Yet you move through the world like silence can speak. How do you do that without getting lost or stepped on?" Keanu did not answer right away. He looked down, then up, like he was checking in with his thoughts and the room at once. He took a slow breath. His hands folded, unfolded, and then rested again. The pause felt longer than a normal pause, but it did not feel empty. It felt like a door was opening, and everyone in the studio could hear the hinge. In that long second, Trevor felt the hair on his arm lift. He did not know what Keanu would say, but he knew it would not be a clever line copied from somewhere else. He knew it would be a piece of the person in front of him. The cameras recorded the quiet. The red light stayed steady. The tea on the table sent up a small ribbon of steam, the kind you only notice when you're paying attention. Keanu finally spoke, and his first words were not an answer but a frame. "I am learning." He said it like a promise. Then he looked at Trevor with that open, steady gaze, ready to add the next line, ready to lay down a truth so simple it might sound strange in a loud world. The producer raised a finger to signal the upcoming break, but Trevor barely noticed. He felt the conversation moving toward a center, a place that was both personal and useful. The room had changed. It was not just a set anymore. It was a small circle of people who understood that something real was about to be said. Trevor did not interrupt. He did not protect the timeline. He protected the moment. He sat back just a little to give the guests space. Keanu's voice stayed calm, as if he were speaking to one person instead of millions. He began the sentence that would sit with Trevor for a long time, a sentence that would later make clips travel and comments multiply, not because it was loud, but because it felt like a hand placed gently on your shoulder. And before he could finish, the producer's hand floated into view again, asking for a natural pause so they could cut for a short break. Trevor smiled, nodded once, and looked back at Keanu with a quiet, expectant face, as if to say, "Hold that thought." Keanu gave a small nod in return, the kind people give when they know the next words matter. The cameras kept rolling for just one more beat, capturing the stillness between question and answer, the kind of stillness that makes an audience lean forward at home, ready to hear what comes next. The break came like a soft breath. The red lights on the cameras dimmed, and the crew relaxed their shoulders. A makeup artist stepped close with a small brush, but Keanu waved gently and said he was fine. Trevor took a sip of tea, glanced at his producer, and gave a tiny nod that meant, "We're close to something. Let's protect it." The producer understood. She moved a sticky note from one column to another on her clipboard. It said, "Let him finish the thought." Outside the quiet studio, the building had its own rhythm. Elevators chimed, phones rang, doors opened and closed. Inside, time felt different. Trevor and Keanu stayed seated as the crew checked batteries and wiped the table. They spoke in small pieces, not to get ahead of the show, but to warm the moment. Trevor said he liked the way Keanu described reputation as a coat that other people put on you. Sometimes it fits. Sometimes it does not. Keanu smiled and said he borrowed that image from watching people in airports. Some coats look heavy. Some look warm. Some look like they belong to another season. A junior producer, new to the team, came over with a question from the social media desk. They wanted to know if there would be a short clip ready by the top of the hour. Trevor could feel the pull of the clock. He had been in many rooms where the clock ran the conversation. He thanked the junior producer and told her, kindly, that the clip would come from the moment itself, not from the clock. She nodded, relieved to be answered with respect. Keanu had watched this small exchange. He noticed how Trevor kept the room gentle even when someone asked for speed. When the red lights returned, the crew counted down again. Trevor leaned forward, elbows on his knees, and the quiet settled back in like a familiar song. He repeated where they had left off. "You said, I am learning." "Learning what?" The camera found Keanu's face. He did not rush. He said he was learning how to be steady in a rushing world. He said he was learning how to choose words that make space instead of closing it. He said he was learning how not to measure a day by numbers, but by presence. Trevor asked for an example. Keanu told a small story about a day on set when the power went out. The crew had to stop for 2 hours. People were worried about schedules and costs. He said the director gathered everyone and said, "We have time. Let's use it well." So, they practiced lines without cameras. They checked marks on the floor. They shared snacks and fixed a squeaky chair. When the power came back, they finished more than they had planned, because the team felt calm. "Sometimes the stop is part of the work," Keanu said. The sentence landed without drama, but it carried weight. Trevor related it to his own life. He spoke about the days after he left the late-night show. Everyone wanted to know what was next, what big thing would replace the old big thing. He said he found something simple, long conversations with no laugh sign. At first, the silence felt like a loss. Then it felt like a gift. He looked at Keanu and said he recognized the practice of being a beginner every morning. Keanu nodded. It is hard to be new when people call you experienced, he said. But a fresh mind can hear better. The studio air felt bright, as if the lights were just right. The cameras shifted to a wider shot. Trevor asked about kindness again, but this time through a practical door. What do you do, he asked, when someone is not kind to you? Do you ignore it? Do you meet it? Do you carry it home? Keanu thought carefully. He said he tries not to carry it home. He said he tries to meet it without matching it. Like water around a stone, Trevor offered. Keanu smiled and said yes. Not because the stone is bad, but because the stone is a stone. You flow. You do not become another stone. A light cough came from the back. It was the sponsor liaison. She had a gentle smile and an urgent job. She needed a moment to flag a talking point, just a brief mention of the platform that made the show possible. Trevor knew the dance. He held up a finger that meant, "We will get there," and she backed away. He promised himself he would do the mention in a way that did not break the mood. He had learned that gratitude can be part of the story if you say it honestly. Keanu continued with another small scene. He said there was a time he was at a public event and a young person asked for advice. He wanted to say something big. Instead, he asked the young person what they cared about that day, not in the future, not after success, but today. The young person said they cared about helping their aunt with a small family shop after school. Keanu told them to start there. Care teaches skill, he said. If you care, you will learn what you need. Trevor repeated the phrase, slow and clear, care teaches skill. He wrote it with his finger in the air, then laughed at himself for doing it. The conversation took a tender turn. Trevor asked how Keanu handles memories that arrive without an invitation. The studio did not feel heavy, it felt honest. Keanu said memories are part of the climate he checks. He does not push them away. He lets them sit. He offers them tea, in his head. He says, I see you. Sometimes the memory speaks. Sometimes it is quiet. Either way, he tries to return to the day in front of him. Trevor said he appreciated how Keanu refused to turn personal moments into content. Keanu replied that privacy is not a wall, it is a garden. You invite people in, but you also water the plants when you are alone. A small buzz came from the earpiece in Trevor's left ear. It was the control room, reminding him of time marks. He touched the earpiece, then let his hand fall. He decided to give the conversation another few minutes before moving to lighter topics. He asked Keanu about work habits. Keanu said he likes to arrive early, learn names, and say thank you with specificity. Not thanks, everyone, but thank you, Maya, for resetting that mark 3 times, or thank you, Luis, for checking the angle that saved us a retake. He said specificity is a sign that you were truly there. The junior producer returned with a quiet apology. The social team hoped for one clear pull quote. Trevor glanced at Keanu and smiled. They want a sentence that can travel, he said. Keanu took a breath and offered one, not for the internet, but for the person who might need it. Be the calm you need, he said. When you can't find it, make a small one. Trevor asked what a small calm looks like. Keanu said it could be a glass of water, a slow breath, a text that says thinking of you, a short walk, a clean corner of a desk. This did not sound fancy, but it sounded true. The junior producer heard it and relaxed. She knew they had their clip, and it was gentle. A camera battery warning blinked, and the operator signaled for a switch. They did it with the care of people who respect the room. Nothing bumped. Nothing snapped. Trevor asked about humor. He said people often forget that Keanu can be funny. Keanu laughed and said he forgets it too. He said humor is relief that does not have to be loud. A quiet joke can be a bridge. He told a soft story about a costume fitting where nothing fit, and how the team laughed together, and how that laughter made the next hour better. Trevor added that humor without harm is a craft. Keanu agreed. It is a sign of trust when people laugh and no one gets smaller. The sponsor mention found its place naturally. Trevor thanked the platform for giving them time to talk without interruptions. He did it plainly. No winks. No sudden change in energy. The liaison gave a thumbs up from the back. The conversation kept its rhythm. Trevor returned to the central topic, how to be kind without being a doormat. Keanu said kindness is not the same as agreement. Kindness can say no with clarity. He explained a simple boundary line he uses: I can't do that, but I can do this instead. It is not a trick. It is a map. People may still be unhappy, but they can see where you stand. The studio clock moved, but no one rushed. Trevor asked what practice helps Keanu most when days are hard. Keanu said he keeps a short list in his pocket. Not a grand manifesto. Just 3 lines: be present. Be useful. Be grateful. On some days, he checks only 1 box. On better days, he checks 2. On rare days, all 3. Trevor said that sounded like training for a marathon you run for life. Keanu said he is not a fast runner, but he is steady. Trevor laughed, and the room laughed with him. A phone buzzed on silent. The social team had already posted the earlier line, be the calm you need, and it was traveling. They did not interrupt to say so. They let the conversation breathe. Trevor asked Keanu what he hopes people feel after watching. Keanu said he hopes they feel less alone. Not because of him, but because they hear their own gentle voice again. He said people have a quiet wisdom inside them that gets drowned out. He wants them to hear it. Trevor said that might be the most important line of the day: trust the quiet wisdom inside you. The producer signaled for a final minute in this block. Trevor chose a question that could live by itself if needed. If you could change one habit in the world tomorrow, he asked, what would you pick? Keanu thought, and then he said, I would ask us all to pause before we pass on a harsh thing. Count to 3. Ask, will this add light? If not, let it go. Trevor repeated it once, then let it rest. He thanked Keanu for the thought, and for the care he brought into the room. The red lights dimmed again, and the crew exhaled as one. The liaison packed her notes. The camera team set down their gear with quiet hands. The junior producer sent the clip to the social desk with a simple caption, be the calm you need. Trevor and Keanu stayed in their seats for a few seconds, like travelers who do not rush to stand when the plane lands. They said nothing, and it was not awkward. It was restful. When they finally stood, Trevor reached out a hand. Keanu shook it and added a small bow of his head, the kind that says thank you twice. You make space, Keanu said. That's rare. Trevor answered that the guest brings the weather, but the host sets the table. They both smiled at the image. A stagehand, who had been moving lights earlier, passed by and thanked them for the way they spoke to the team. It was a simple thank you, but it felt like a gold star placed gently on the day. They still had more to record, lighter topics and a few stories about work. But the heart of the conversation had already appeared, soft and clear. The studio had held it. The people had honored it. The moment would travel, but it would not be noisy. It would be like a lamp in a window at night, steady, small, and seen. As Trevor walked to his office for a short break, he glanced at his phone. Messages were coming in. Not the wild kind, not the kind that shout. The quiet kind, needed this today. Sent this to my sister. Made me breathe. He slid the phone into his pocket and looked back at the studio door. Keanu stood there for a second, meeting eyes across the hallway, and raised a hand in a friendly wave. Trevor raised his hand back. No words were needed. The day had found its tone. In the control room, the producer wrote one more sticky note for the final block, return to the 3 lines. Ask about daily practice for viewers. She stuck it on the edge of her monitor and smiled. The team was ready. The conversation had a path now, and it was a good one. They did not have to chase a headline. They had something better, a human line that would stay with people long after the episode ended. The red lights returned for the next block, and the room settled again, easy and steady. Trevor looked at Keanu with a gentle smile that said, let's go where we were going. He did not rush the first question. He let the air breathe for a moment, then asked in a soft voice, you said you are learning. A lot of people feel lost when life is fast or heavy. What are you learning that helps you stand still inside all of that? He kept his hands open on his knees, as if he were holding out a small bowl to receive whatever came. Keanu met the question with a long, kind look. He seemed to check the words before he spoke them, like a man checking a bridge plank by plank. I am learning to be grateful for time, he said. Not the schedule kind, but the moment kind. He explained that a moment can hold more than we think, a breath, a face, a memory, a decision. He said he tries to treat a moment like a guest who has come to visit. He welcomes it, gives it a place to sit, and listens to what it brings. Trevor asked what a moment had brought him recently. Keanu told a small story about a night walk after a long day. He had passed a bakery that was closing, and someone inside was sweeping the floor. Warm light fell across the sidewalk. The person sweeping looked up and smiled. It was a simple smile that asked for nothing and gave everything. That smile was a short poem, Keanu said. It told me the day had a gentle ending. Trevor rested his chin on his hand and let the image hang there like a lantern. Then Trevor asked about something deeper. He said many people know Keanu for action roles, but also for the way he speaks about life. Where does that gentleness come from? He asked, careful and respectful. Keanu took a breath. He did not step into big talk or dramatic language. He kept it plain. He said he thinks about the people who care for him, and the people he cares for, and how love leaves a mark that stays. He said the simple truth is that when we are gone, those who love us will miss us, and that thought helps him be kinder today. The room grew very quiet, not because anyone told it to, but because everyone wanted to hold the words. Trevor's eyes softened. He felt the steady weight of that line, like a bell tone in a still church. He asked how that thought shows up in daily choices. Keanu said it reminds him to say thank you, to take pictures in his head of small good things, to be patient when someone is late, to forgive more quickly than he used to, and to keep learning names. He said names are little bridges, and he does not want to miss a chance to cross one. Trevor nodded and asked about work, because work is where many people spend most of their hours. Keanu explained that he likes to help keep the set calm. If a scene is delayed, he tries to ask what he can do to help, even if it is just moving a chair. If a team member is new, he tries to say, "Glad you're here." He said a set is a small town that appears in the morning and disappears at night, and everyone feels better when the town is friendly. Trevor laughed lightly and said he likes the idea of a small town with coffee, cables, and tape marks. The sponsor liaison caught Trevor's eye from the back of the room, but there was no need to step in. The moment had its own shape now, and everyone knew to protect it. Trevor asked how Keanu keeps his center when praise and criticism arrive in the same week. Keanu said he tries to hold both lightly. Praise can teach you what people value, he said, and criticism can teach you where to look again. But neither should decide who you are. I am trying to be the same person before and after, he said, so I can trust my own map. A camera operator changed to a slower zoom. The frame felt like a friendly circle. Trevor shifted the conversation toward action that viewers could try. You carry a card with 3 lines, he said, reminding him of the earlier point: be present, be useful, be grateful. If someone watching wants to try that tomorrow, how should they begin? Keanu answered with small, clear steps. In the morning, pick one thing to notice: a sound, a smell, a color, and let it tell you the day has started. Then look for one person to help hold a door, share directions, send a kind message. And at night, name one thing you're thankful for, even if it is tiny. Trevor asked if Keanu ever fails at his own plan. Keanu smiled. All the time, he said. Some days he forgets. Some days he is tired or short or distant. On those days, he tries to begin again at lunch or at sunset. We get more than one start, he said. Trevor liked that. He said the idea of many starts takes away the fear of doing it wrong. He added that people online often want perfect answers, but real life is practice, and practice is allowed to be messy. The junior producer near the door sent a quiet note to the social team: turning point landed. Gentle, not flashy. She did not push the clip out yet. She wanted the line to live inside the whole moment first. Meanwhile, Trevor brought in a listener question they had prepared. It asked how to handle anger when someone is unfair. Keanu thought about it and offered a picture: let the anger pass through like weather, then choose what to build after the storm. If action is needed, act. If words are needed, speak them clearly, not loudly. But do not build your house out of thunder. Build it out of light. Trevor asked what a light-built house looks like. Keanu said it has open windows and strong doors. It lets in fresh air and keeps out harm. It has room for guests and a quiet corner for rest. He said people sometimes think strength means a castle wall. But a good home can be strong and welcoming at the same time. Trevor said that sounded like the kind of place where a person can heal and grow. He added that many viewers would hear these images more easily than any big lecture. They both smiled at that, and the room eased even more. Trevor felt safe enough to bring up something personal from his own path. He said there were days when he worried that leaving his old show would make him disappear. He learned that listening could be a new kind of presence. Keanu thanked him for sharing that. He said disappearing is not the only answer to noise, sometimes you can lower the volume and stay. He said the world needs people who know how to carry quiet into loud places. A stagehand shifted a light by a single inch, then stepped back. Everything glowed in a warm, human way. Trevor brought the talk to craft. He asked how Keanu prepares for difficult scenes. Keanu said he breaks them down into honest beats: where am I, who am I with, what do I need, what do I give. He practices the moves but leaves room for life to show up. He said real life always brings a small surprise, and he wants to be ready to receive it. Trevor said that was true for interviews too. The best moments are born from room, not from script. The sponsor mention came and went like a soft thank you. Trevor said he was grateful for partners who allow long conversations. He meant it. The liaison smiled and relaxed her shoulders. Then Trevor asked for one thing viewers could write down on a note and keep in a pocket. Keanu looked at his own pocket and laughed a little. He said they could write: pause. Breathe. Choose a kind action. He explained that a pause gives you a chance to hear your better self. A breath gives your body a chance to settle. A kind action turns the moment into a gift. Another listener question arrived on a card: how do you keep hope when the news is heavy? Keanu said hope is not always a big light. Sometimes it is a candle you shield with your hand. You move it from room to room and share it when you can. He said hope grows when people do small good things together. Trevor said he liked the picture of the hand around the candle, not to hide it, but to guard it from wind. He added that shows like this could be a hand too, if they are honest and gentle. Time signaled in Trevor's earpiece again, but he did not break the flow. He picked one last set of questions for this block, each simple. What sound helps you reset? Keanu said the soft click of a door softly closing. What sight helps you reset? The way sunlight lands on a table. What gesture helps you reset? Placing a hand over the heart, just for a second. Trevor tried it on air, smiling at himself, and the crew almost smiled back in unison. The gestures were small, but small things were the theme, and the theme felt right. Before the break, Trevor asked a bolder question in a kind way. You said earlier that those who love us will miss us when we're gone. What do you hope people feel when they think of you one day? Keanu answered without drama. He said he hopes people feel a little calmer. He hopes they remember that he tried to be good company. He hopes they think of a day that went a little better because someone made space for them. That would be enough, he said. The room felt like a quiet bell again. No one moved. The producer lifted a hand, giving the two a gentle 15-second warning. Trevor looked at Keanu and decided to let the silence finish the thought. He thanked him for trusting the room. He said the next block would be lighter, but he did not want to rush away from the center. He looked at the main camera and said, softly, that sometimes the most surprising thing a person can say on a show is something very simple and true. He promised viewers they would return after a short pause. The red lights dimmed, and the crew exhaled like a single soft wind. The camera operator set the rig down with care, as if it were a sleeping child. The junior producer sent a message, clip ready when you are. The social team waited for the green light. Trevor and Keanu stayed seated for a moment. No one spoke. The quiet felt full, not empty. Then Trevor reached across the small table and tapped the edge with one finger, like a conductor ending a gentle song. He looked at Keanu and nodded. Keanu nodded back. They had found the turning point, and it had arrived not with noise, but with light. As they stood, a staff member brought fresh tea. She set it down and whispered a thank you for the conversation. She said she had texted a friend during the last block and told them to watch later. Keanu thanked her by name. Trevor thanked her too. The hallway outside held the normal building sounds, but inside the studio, the moment remained steady, like a lake that keeps its calm even when a bird takes off. They would come back after the break to talk about craft, work stories, and small daily habits. But the heart was here now, clear and warm, and everyone felt it. They came back from the break with fresh tea and easy smiles. The studio looked the same, but something had changed. The earlier words still rested in the room like a soft light. Trevor felt it. Keanu felt it. The crew felt it too. The red lights glowed again. A small "we're rolling" gesture moved from the director to the camera team, then to Trevor. He began with a quiet line that set the tone, let's talk about doing good work, even when the world is loud. Keanu nodded. He said he thinks of work like a craft table. You keep your tools clean. You know where things are. You show respect for the table and the people who share it. On a film set, that means learning names, showing up on time, and caring about the person across from you. On any team, that means choosing patience over pressure when things slip. Trevor smiled. He liked the craft table image. He said good rooms are built, not found. A junior producer slid a note toward Trevor. The social clip from earlier, "Be the calm you need," was moving fast online. Some comments were grateful. Some asked for a bigger, sharper quote. A few accounts tried to twist it into a slogan for a side they wanted to promote. Trevor read the note and set it face down. He kept his voice gentle. Sometimes the internet wants a storm, he said, but I think we have a lantern. Keanu laughed softly. A lantern is good, he replied. You can carry it and share it. Trevor asked for a story from Keanu's work life where calm made a difference. Keanu spoke about a night scene with rain. The schedule was tight. They were running behind. The crew had been on their feet for hours. A background performer slipped on wet ground and looked shaken, not hurt, but startled. The assistant director paused the set. Instead of shouting, he checked on the person, then walked the path with the whole team to point out the slick spots. The scene took longer, but the work felt better. "We lost minutes," Keanu said, "and gained trust." Trevor repeated the line like a small bell. "We lost minutes and gained trust." The sponsor liaison gave Trevor a look that meant "remember the partner, thank you." He found a natural moment and did it simply. He thanked the partner for supporting long, thoughtful conversations. No big voice, no sudden change. The liaison relaxed. The tone stayed steady. Then came the near final test of the day. The network desk sent a message to the control room. A live trending topic had used the word speechless in the loud way, hinting at scandal that did not exist. A few editors outside the building were already writing fast summaries based on incomplete clips. The control room asked Trevor if he wanted to give a headline to guide the story. Trevor read the message on his monitor and looked up at Keanu. He had a choice: chase the internet, or keep building the room they had made. He chose the room. Trevor spoke to viewers directly, but softly. He said the most surprising words today were simple, not messy. He said the heart of the talk was about presence, kindness, and small actions that make days easier. He promised more stories and invited people to stay. He did not feed the rumor. He fed the truth. Keanu watched with grateful eyes. He understood how easy it would have been to try to win the moment with a shiny line. Trevor chose care instead. To shift the energy, Trevor brought in two light questions. First, what small joy do you keep? Keanu said he keeps a notebook full of tiny good things like the way sunlight makes a square on the floor or how a friend laughs when surprised. Second, what work item do you always carry? Keanu smiled and said he carries a quiet pencil. He likes pencils because they can be kind to mistakes. You can erase and try again, he said. It's polite. The crew smiled at that. The camera operators kept their movements calm and slow. The junior producer checked the live chat on a small screen. Something nice was happening. Viewers were posting their own small joys. A bus driver wrote about the moment a child waved from the curb. A nurse wrote about the sound of a sleeping ward. A teacher wrote about a student who finally found the right word for a feeling. The junior producer's eyes got a little shiny. She sent a message to the social team: the audience is joining with quiet stories. Let's highlight those. Trevor turned to practical habits again. People want to try your 3 lines, he said. Be present, be useful, be grateful. Could we design a simple daily plan in 1 minute? Keanu agreed. They built it on air, step by step. Morning, notice one real thing: sound of water, smell of toast, light on the wall. Midday, help one person, clear a spot, carry a box, send a kind text. Evening, name one reason to be thankful: a call, a laugh, a finished task. They said it together once, like a small pledge. The words were easy. The plan felt friendly. Trevor added that if you forget, you can start again. Keanu repeated, we get more than one start. The phrase hung in the air like a comfortable sweater. Another challenge arrived, this time from inside the building. A senior executive stepped into the control room and suggested a spice round: quick questions about gossip and big headlines to get a pop. The control room relayed the idea to Trevor with care. The clock said there was time for a short round at the end. Trevor could feel 2 paths. One path would break the calm for a few loud minutes. The other path would hold the line they had set all day. Trevor chose a third path. He created a light round that kept the tone but offered speed. He explained it to viewers: Short questions about creative work, curious habits, and good advice people had given Keanu. Fast, but kind, he said. The executive watched from behind glass, saw the comments rolling in, and made no further push. The day would stay true. The light round was a delight. Best advice a mentor gave you? Trevor asked. Keanu said, learn names. Learn why people do what they do. A habit that helps you think. Walking without a destination. A line you tell yourself before a hard day. Begin small. Be honest. Trevor kept the questions soft and quick. The answers were short and useful. The crew looked happy. The audience chat filled with people typing their own small lines to live by. Then the studio faced a simple but real hurdle, a low hum in the audio. It rode under the voices like a tiny bee. The sound team noticed. The director made a hand sign. They had to fix it without breaking the moment. The operator traced the cable, found a loose point, and held it steady with a gentle hand. Trevor paused, smiled at viewers, and said, "This is a real room with real wires and real people. Thank you for your patience." Keanu added, "Small things matter because they hold big things." The hum faded. The talk went on. Trevor asked how Keanu deals with doubt. Keanu said doubt is a visitor, not a home. When doubt knocks, he hears it, offers it a chair for a minute, and then chooses an action anyway. Action is a friend to doubt, he said. It does not shout at it. It walks. Trevor liked that. He said many people think they need to feel perfect before they act. But most good steps are taken with a little doubt and a lot of care. A question from a viewer came in live: how do I set a boundary without being unkind? Keanu shared his map: I can't do that, but I can do this. He gave examples: I can't stay late, but I can help early tomorrow. I can't join the call, but I can send notes. He said clear maps help people adjust. Trevor added that a kind no can be a gift because it teaches trust. You are not pretending. You are present. The control room passed one more update: a few loud accounts were still asking for fire. But the larger stream of comments had turned warm. People were sharing the small plan, using the 3 lines, and posting gentle photos of sunlight patches and cups of tea. A librarian wrote that she would put the plan on the staff board. A coach wrote that he would read it to his team before practice. Trevor felt a quiet joy. The consequence of staying calm was not boredom. It was usefulness. To close the block, Trevor invited Keanu to speak to one person who might be watching alone at a hard hour. Keanu looked into the lens as if it were a friend's eye. He said, "If today is heavy, you do not have to carry the whole thing. Carry a corner. Ask someone to hold another corner. Take a breath and begin small. You are not behind. You are here." He did not raise his voice. He did not reach for a grand line. He chose simple words and let them sit. The room felt them. The producer lifted her hand. 30 seconds left. Trevor thanked Keanu and turned to the main camera. He told viewers they would return once more for final thoughts and a few light stories from set life, things about bikes, books, and laughter between takes. He promised to end with a short list people could screenshot and keep. He gave a soft thank you to the crew for their steady work. The crew smiled, and a few nodded back. The red lights dimmed again. The room exhaled. The sponsor liaison gathered her notes and whispered, "Thank you for the way you kept that kind." The senior executive from behind the glass stepped in and said, "Nice pivot on the light round." The junior producer checked the audience stories and wiped a happy tear. The camera operator flexed the hand that had held the cable and gave a thumbs up to the sound team. The director wrote 2 words on the day's whiteboard: held steady. Outside the studio, the city kept its own pace: cars, lifts, doors, screens. Inside, the conversation had its own clear shape now. They had faced the pull of quick noise and stayed with bright quiet. That choice had consequences. It meant some people would scroll past. It also meant some people would stay and breathe. For Trevor and his team, that was the right measure. Not the loudest minute, but the kindest hour. Trevor and Keanu sat for a moment longer before the final block. They did not talk about numbers. They did not chase a headline. They looked at their cups and the small steam that rose from them. Trevor said, "We kept the lantern." Keanu said, "Yes. And we shared it?" The stage manager checked the clock and smiled. One more segment to go. One more chance to give something people could carry home. They straightened their jackets, set their cups down, and took a breath together. The red lights would return in a moment. Outside, feeds would keep spinning. Inside, a table, 2 chairs, and a small plan waited. Be present. Be useful. Be grateful. They were ready to finish well. The last block began with a soft laugh. Trevor thanked the crew for the reset and looked at Keanu with a warm, steady smile. The air felt friendly, like a living room late in the evening. He said they would end with stories that showed the human side of work, little moments between big moments. Keanu nodded and rested his hands on the table. The red lights glowed on, and the room eased into its rhythm again. Trevor asked about bikes first, because viewers had sent many questions about them. Keanu said he liked the feeling of small wind on his face and the way a ride asks you to pay attention. You watch the road. You listen to the engine. You see people at stoplights and wave. It slows the mind. Trevor joked that he would need training wheels. Keanu laughed and said the real training wheels are listening and patience. He spoke about a short sunrise ride he takes sometimes, just a few streets, then back home for coffee. Trevor liked the picture, a quiet circle to begin the day. Then Trevor brought up books. He asked what kind of reading helps Keanu rest. Keanu said he likes books with short chapters that you can put down and carry in your mind. He likes lines that feel like good advice from a friend. He likes stories that honor simple kindness. Trevor shared that he keeps a book near his desk with pages full of small notes from guests. He writes down phrases that ring like clear bells. He said Be the Calm You Need already had its page. They traded one more light story from set life. Keanu described a day when a prop would not work and kept slipping. Everyone tried to fix it. The director smiled and said, "Let's celebrate the prop for being honest. It does not want this today." The team laughed. They changed the plan and made the scene better. Trevor said that was a perfect model for daily life. If one plan resists, try a friendlier plan. Do not force it. Adjust it with care. The junior producer lifted a hand from the edge of the set and pointed to the audience feed. The chat was full of people sharing their 3-line pocket notes. A baker wrote, "Be present while kneading dough." A student wrote, "Be useful by helping a classmate." A caregiver wrote, "Be grateful for a quiet hour." Trevor smiled at the screen and told viewers he felt thankful for their trust. The studio felt connected to a larger room, a gentle one that stretched far beyond the walls. Trevor offered Keanu one last set of small, playful questions. "What sound cheers you up?" Keanu said the click of a kettle when it is done. "What snack keeps you steady?" "A crisp apple." "What everyday task makes you feel grounded?" "Folding a clean cloth." Trevor joked that the apple answer would start a trend. Keanu smiled and said trends come and go, but an apple stays an apple, and sometimes that is exactly what you need. They returned to the heart for a final time. Trevor asked what Keanu hoped people would carry home after watching. Keanu answered slowly, in simple steps. He hoped they would remember that small things change a day. He hoped they would try the 3 lines. He hoped they would give someone a bit of room to breathe. He hoped they would build a small calm and share it. He hoped they would treat their own kindness as a skill that grows with practice. Trevor said he would keep his promise to end with a short list people could screenshot. He turned a card toward the main camera, and the director pushed in gently. The card read, pause for one breath. Notice one real thing. Help one person in a small way. Say one clear no if needed, kindly. Name one thing you are thankful for. Begin again anytime. The card was simple and clear. Keanu asked to add a line at the bottom, be present. Be useful. Be grateful. Trevor held the card steady while the camera captured it. The sponsor liaison gave a small thumbs up. The junior producer made a note to post the list with an easy caption later. A final listener question came in right on time. It asked, what if I try this and still have a tough day? Keanu answered with care. He said a tough day can still be an honest day. On those days, you keep the list very small. You pick one item, even just one breath. You send a single kind message or wash one cup. You let that be enough. You promise yourself another try tomorrow. Trevor thanked him for that gentle answer. He said it removed pressure and replaced it with patience. The director rolled her hand to signal the last minute. Trevor looked into the lens to close the show. He thanked Keanu for his time, his care, and his practical wisdom. He thanked the crew for holding the room steady. He thanked viewers for sharing their own lines and small joys. He said the episode would live online for anyone who wanted to watch later, but he hoped the real episode would live in daily life, in the ways people paused, noticed, helped, thanked, and began again. Keanu added a final thought in a calm voice. He said that when he leaves a set, he likes to make sure the space looks a little better than when he arrived. A chair straightened. A cup washed. A thank you said. He said people can do this with their day too. Leave it a little better than you found it. It does not have to be perfect. It just has to be cared for. Trevor nodded, because that was exactly the tone of the whole hour. The red lights dimmed, and the crew let out a soft breath together. The camera operator secured the rig. The sound team took off their headsets and smiled at each other. The director wrote the words "thank you" on the whiteboard and drew a tiny lantern next to them. The junior producer sent the card image to the social team with a note, "Keep the caption quiet." The sponsor liaison closed her folder and said she was glad the day stayed true. Trevor and Keanu stood up. They shook hands in a simple way, with a look that said the handshake meant more than just a habit. A stagehand came over to say the hallway was clear. Keanu thanked her by name. Trevor thanked her too. They stepped into the corridor, where the building's normal sounds returned: the light roll of carts, a door closing softly, the low hum of a copier somewhere down the hall. In Trevor's office, a few messages were already waiting. A parent wrote that the list helped a child calm down before bed. A nurse wrote that she put the 3 lines on the break room board. A bus driver wrote that a student waved and she waved back, and that this small thing made the day feel kinder. Trevor read the messages, placed the phone face down, and sat for a minute of quiet. He looked at the card on his desk. He read the lines again. He let them settle like good tea. Keanu walked toward the exit with a small bag over his shoulder. He said goodbye to the guard at the door and thanked him for the day. Outside, the city air felt clean. He pulled his jacket close and took a slow breath. For a moment, he stood still and looked up at the sky between buildings. The shape was like a soft ribbon. He smiled at the thought. Then he walked down the steps and into the late afternoon, not in a rush, not in a pose, just a person going home after good work. Later, when the episode posted, it did not explode with noise. It spread like a calm note passed hand to hand. Some headlines tried to make it louder, but most people heard the soft center. They shared the card. They repeated the 3 lines. They told small stories. A coach read the list to a team before practice. A teacher wrote it on the corner of a whiteboard. A cafe owner printed it by the register. None of these things changed the whole world. But they changed a day, then another day, and then a few more. In the days that followed, Trevor noticed something gentle in the studio. People said thank you with names more often. Crew members offered each other small help before being asked. The control room kept the tone steady even when the clock pushed. The sticky notes on the producer's board had fewer sharp words and more kind ones. It was not a rule. It was a practice. The room had learned how to hold a lantern and pass it along. One evening, a viewer sent a photo that made Trevor stop and smile. It showed a refrigerator door with the card magnet to it. Around the card were simple drawings made by a child, a sun, a cup, a smiling stick figure with a tiny lantern. The caption said, "We're trying the list as a family." Trevor sent the photo to the team with a short line, "This is the point." The team replied with hearts and smiley faces and a lot of gratitude. Keanu did not post a long statement about the episode. He thanked the show and went back to his work and his quiet. He kept his little notebook of good things. He kept his slow rides. He kept his morning practice of being a beginner. When people stopped him on the street and mentioned the 3 lines, he smiled and said he was trying to. He meant it. He was still learning. And that was the real end, the kind that does not shout. A calm hour on a busy day turned into a small plan for people who wanted a softer way to move through the world. No breaking news. No sharp edges. Just a clear path anyone could step onto at any time, pause, notice, help, thank, begin again. The room had held steady. The lantern had stayed lit. And across many ordinary places, kitchens, buses, classrooms, offices, a gentle light kept finding new hands to carry it.